Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can analyze the case of the Glacier Park Murder. This case involves the murder of Cody Lee Johnson by his wife of 8 days, Jordan Graham. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case. I'll move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. This case takes place in Montana in 2013. 25-year-old Cody Lee Johnson and 22-year-old Jordan Graham knew each other for less than 2 years when Johnson proposed to Graham in December of 2012. Their wedding would be on June 29, 2013 in Kalispell, Montana. 8 days later, on July 7, 2013, Johnson disappeared. On July 8, the police received multiple reports of a missing person, Cody Lee Johnson, but none of those reports was from Jordan Graham. The next day, Jordan Graham was interviewed. She said that the couple attended dinner with friends and they drove home. As they were driving, her husband received a phone call that made him upset. When they arrived home, at about 9:45 p.m., Graham realized that her phone needed to be charged. She drove herself from their residence to another area to find her phone charger. She claimed that when she was doing that, a text message came through from Johnson's phone saying he was going for a drive with a friend from out of town. After returning to her residence from her phone charging adventure, she noticed Johnson sitting in a dark-colored car pulling out of the driveway. Graham said that the reason that there were no text messages on her phone or her husband's phone is because the couple deleted all of their text messages as a matter of routine. I feel like that excuse is so bad she's practically saying she's guilty. On July 11, a friend of Jordan Graham was interviewed by the police. The friend indicated that Graham had told her that she was having second thoughts about having been married. Graham said she needed to talk to somebody about the issue. Graham went on to say that it was her intent to talk about this with Johnson on July 7, 2013. Graham sent a text message to this friend on that day at 8:56 p.m., which indicated she was about to talk to Johnson. The friend responded, "I'll pray for you guys." Graham's response was, "But dead serious, if you don't hear from me at all tonight, something happened." The same day of that interview, the one with the friend who was texting back and forth with Graham, we see that a U.S. park ranger received a report of a dead body at Glacier National Park. The reporting party was Jordan Graham. The body was in an area of the park referred to as the Loop. This was a popular viewpoint for visitors. There was a parking lot included in that area, so people could pull right in, I guess, and then walk to this area where they could look at the scenery. She had traveled to the Loop with her mother, her brother, and 2 friends to search for Johnson. Apparently, Graham spotted his body at the bottom of the ravine, so she was the first to see him. The ranger was curious as to the unusual circumstances of this discovery. Graham responded, it was a place he wanted to see before he died. She added that he would go there with friends from out of state. The police were unable to retrieve Johnson's body until the next day. A special helicopter had to be brought in. His body was at the bottom of a 300-foot cliff in a shallow creek. On July 13, officers talked to a woman who was friends with both Johnson and Graham. She said that she was with Graham at a church daycare center on July 10 when Graham told her that she had just received an email indicating Johnson was dead. So Jordan Graham is telling this friend that Jordan Graham is getting an email from a friend of Johnson's indicating Johnson is no longer alive. Investigators would later learn that Graham created the email account that day and sent the email to herself. Here is what Graham wrote in this email that was supposedly from a friend, but really from her to herself. "Hello, Jordan. My name is Tony. There is no bother in looking for Cody anymore. He is gone. I saw your post on Twitter and thought I would email you. He had come with some buddies and met up with me on Sunday night in Columbia Falls. He was saying he needed to be with his buddies for a bit and take them for a joyride, before they had to go. So he said bye to me, and they took off in a black car for a ride. 3 of the guys came back saying they had gone for a ride in the woods somewhere, and Cody got out of the car and went for a little hike, and they are positive he fell, and he is dead, Jordan. A lot of ands in that sentence. It's really poorly written, but I digress. Moving on with the note. I don't know who the guys were, but they took off, so call off the missing person report. Cody is for sure gone. Tony. So again, this was the email that Graham sent to herself. On July 16, the police interviewed Jordan Graham again. They gave her the Miranda warning, yet she agreed to keep talking. At this point, we see her story changes a little bit. Graham started by admitting that she had lied about everything she said before, so that was all out of the window. She said what really happened on the evening of July 7 is that she had an argument with Johnson. They both decided to travel to the loop area of Glacier National Park. After arriving, they continued their argument. They walked to the other side of the trail to ground that was on a steep incline. Their argument escalated, and Graham turned and walked away. Johnson grabbed her by the arm. She removed his hand from her arm, but instead of continuing to walk away, her anger got the best of her, and she pushed Johnson with both hands in his back. The force of this push caused him to fall face first over the cliff. Graham was indicted for second-degree murder, as well as providing false statements to the U.S. National Park Service. Later, a first-degree murder charge would be added as well. Graham was tried, but before the case was presented to the jury, she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The other 2 charges were dropped. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Now moving to my analysis. This couple appeared to be in some trouble right from the beginning. They had a songwriter write a special song for their wedding. One of the lines from that song read, "You helped me to climb higher for a better view. You're my safe place to fall. You never let me go." I think I would have gone with something more accurate, like, "You helped me to climb higher for a better view. Then you sent me plunging to my death." But then again, I suppose there are good reasons why I'm not a songwriter. I'm not aware of any mental health information that's available about Jordan Graham. The only mention of mental health I could find is that the prosecutor listed mental health as one of the reasons Graham should not have pretrial release. Friends described Jordan Graham as immature, socially inept, shy, quiet, naive, and unable to relate well to adults. I find this interesting because, again, these are her friends. People reported that they would wonder out loud what was wrong with her. So her behavior clearly appeared to deviate from the norm significantly. She was deeply religious. She was not allowed to date until she was 18 years old. She lived with her parents until the night of her wedding. She did not believe in premarital sex. Her only work experience was in a daycare. There seemed to be agreement that she did very well interacting with children, having no difficulties with them at all. So with Jordan Graham, we see a personality profile that may be something like low openness to experience, mid-range conscientiousness, low extroversion, mid-range to low agreeableness, and mid-range to high neuroticism. Cody Johnson was thought of as very different from Graham. Johnson was older than Graham. He did not attend church. He was interested in beer, softball, race cars, and hanging out with both male and female friends. His friends were often referred to by the couple as the car people. Johnson was an exceptionally poor and reckless driver. He had been issued many traffic tickets. One was for driving 120 miles an hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone. On one occasion, he totaled a pickup truck he owned. After Johnson and Graham met, Johnson tried to change some of his habits. He limited his drinking, he started attending church, and he didn't hang out with the car people as much. Graham had concerns about him associating with that group of friends. So as far as potential personality profile for Cody Johnson, we see mid-range openness, low conscientiousness, high extroversion, mid to low agreeableness, and mid to high neuroticism. So the major difference would be extroversion, but we also see some differences on openness and conscientiousness. Friends warned Johnson that Graham was simply not his type. They said, "Do not marry her," but Johnson did not heed the warning. He joined the same church that Graham belonged to. He began attending with Graham and became well liked by the people there. Some of the church members warned him not to marry Graham. So we're seeing a bit of a theme emerge. He was getting warning signs from just about everywhere. But to be fair, not everybody believed the couple would have a disastrous marriage. Some people thought they were perfectly matched. People also seemed to disagree on how excited Graham was to get married. Some people said she was distant and uninvolved in the wedding planning. Other people reported she was looking forward to a life with Johnson, including having children with him. Immediately after the marriage, Graham started contacting friends and questioning if she did the right thing. Many told her just to be patient. Marriage is tough. It will work out. Graham then started sending messages saying that she wasn't being honest with Johnson, and she felt bad about this. After Johnson went missing, many people were immediately suspicious of Jordan Graham. They tried to act friendly toward her, hoping she would let her guard down and share information about her involvement in Johnson's disappearance. One of the areas that really stands out to me about this case is how Graham was clearly a terrible criminal. She committed a crime that was completely unnecessary. Getting divorced would have resulted in less prison time. Most divorces do not involve any prison time. She seemed to feel badly about what she did, enough to confess, but before that she repeatedly told ridiculously obvious lies in order to escape responsibility. It's like she believed nobody around her had common sense or the ability to apply basic logic. Considering the circumstances around the crime, all she needed to do to get away with it was say nothing. When she pushed him to his death, she could have simply called the authorities and said they were both walking near the edge of this cliff and she noticed he wasn't there anymore. It was as simple as that. There was no weapon. There was no good motive. If her DNA was found on him, well, that makes sense considering they were married. My understanding is that there were no cameras and no eyewitnesses to the crime. In addition to being a bad criminal, Graham appears to be an exceptionally immature murderer who did not appreciate consequences. She did not appreciate the consequences of getting married, of arguing, of going someplace dangerous when arguing, of murdering somebody, of pleading guilty to that murder. It was like she had homicidal buyer's remorse. We also see an immature and inconsistent response regarding the accepting of responsibility. On one hand, she said she felt 100% responsible for Johnson's death. She pushed last, so it's her fault. On the other hand, she unsuccessfully appealed her own guilty plea. So she's guilty and not guilty at the same time, I guess. It occurs to me that Jordan Graham worked with children. Again, that was the only employment she ever had. One common tactic we see with small children is pushing one another, right? So they get angry, they get upset, and they will push each other as part of that expression. It's interesting to me that Jordan Graham seemed to select that same method for the crime that she committed. What lessons learned are there from this case? I have two here. First, it is not a bad idea to get to know somebody before forming a long-term romantic relationship. Time is an important unit of measure for relationships. People think that it's a good idea to have a long courtship to learn how not to argue, which is part of it. The other part is learning how to argue, how to compromise, how to manage those strong feelings. One thing that Graham may have learned in a longer courtship was not to go to a dangerous place to have a fight. This is like one passenger on a transatlantic flight saying to another, "I'm really mad at you. Let's step outside and have this conversation." Even in the heat of the moment, even when angry, there must be limits. Time is often the way that we measure relationships. Although I suppose if one were to change the unit of measure to distance, Johnson and Graham had a good relationship until the last 300 feet or so. Second lesson learned, this case has brought out a number of interesting statements about marriage. I think sometimes people may slip and share how they really feel about marriage when commenting on cases like this. For example, A police officer connected with this case implied that Graham was really a bad person because she killed her husband in only 8 days after their wedding. It makes me wonder, what number of days would be appropriate? It almost makes it sound like they are much more sympathetic to people who kill their spouses after being married for a long time. Marriage can definitely be challenging, but there is never a good time for homicide. There are many anniversaries like silver and gold, but there is no murder anniversary. Although I guess if it were, it would certainly make selecting a gift a lot easier. Those are my thoughts on the Jordan Graham case. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.